Welcome to the Brick Car MSA British Endurance Championship. We're here at Donington Park for the very first race of the season. Now, last year it was a very, very close race. This year, will 2013 be even better? We've got some brand new cars ready and raring to go. So let's get racing.
Some new faces and some old in the 2013 MSA British Endurance Championship, and we kick off with Jensen Motorsport, back for more in 2013, with Jensen Lund still the lead driver, and their new pilot, Alistair Lindsay, who learnt last year's craft in the Smart 4.2 series. The number 99 should be quite a dark force in Class 3. For this weekend only, Adam Hayes and Mark Radcliffe have been invited to bring their BMW M3 Intersport car into the British Endurance Championship, although mechanical failure in the Production Cup race means that neither Mark nor Adam will get out on the grid. 11th on the grid, and it's the Foldsport Ginetta G55 that debuted so brilliantly at Donington Park in the season finale last year, winning their class on their debut. Ryan Radcliffe and Caterham star Flick Haig are back for more. An all-new team in the Porsche GT3 RSR, it's Simpson Motorsport with Peter Cook and Anthony Mott, hoping that they can show that they've got the skill and guile to get what it takes at the end of the season. Class 2 is their championship of choice. Team Webb are going to continue their valiant form from 2012 in the BMW M3, with Tom and James taking the wheel for the first round of the championship, at least at Donington Park, and with a 1 minute 9.7, their pace is strong. Returning champion Simon Leith has made his way to the BPM team in the all-new Renault Megane V6 Trophy. Ashley Woodman and British touring car star Jeff Smith will be his partners over the course of the season. Watch out for them in Class 2, they could be very strong. Track Talk are back for more once again, and Tommy Field and Chris Hart will once again drive the Chevron GR8, and they'll be questing for Class 2 themselves. And Tommy Field is no slouch, he builds his engines for Rob Aston in the British Touring Car Championship. Intersport have decided to go in a completely different direction for the British Endurance Championship, a Class 1 Mosler. It certainly could be the most interesting car of the championship, with Kevin Clark and Wayne Gibson getting a bit more horsepower in 2013. Team Parker Racing showed some brilliant flair throughout the last season, and in the Porsche 997 Cup, their Class 2 entrant is actually up amongst the Class 1s. With Ian Loggy and Chris Jones returning, this one could take overall victories. Chevron Cars is making a works effort for the 2013 season, and Jordan Witt and British GT convert Marcus Clutton are hoping to turn their new machine, the Chevron GT3, into a potential Le Mans winner. This could be the testbed. An amazing story from the Horsepower Racing team. Last year they raced a Ferrari, and they should have been this weekend, but at the last minute an engine failure meant they had to buy an Aston Martin GT3 overnight for $500,000. Paul Bailey and Andy Schulz, though, will be back. Javier Morcillo and Manuel Cintrano have returned to Neil Garner Motorsport for the 2013 season. They were Class 1 champions last year and second overall in 2012. But second on the grid here means that there must be somebody surprising on pole. And we're right, it's the Rapier SR2. A fragile but fast machine, there's hopes that Mike Millard, Nigel Greensall and Carsten LeBlanc could turn this into a championship winner. It's the only open-top prototype on the grid, and very fast when it's working well. So there's confirmation the first pole position of the new season goes to the Rapier SR2 of Mike Millard, Nigel Greensall and Carsten LeBlanc. The Neil Garner Motorsport Mosler is second on the grid in front of the Horsepower Racing Aston Martin and the Chevron Cars GT3 in fourth. Team Parker are fifth on the grid, along with the Intersport Mosler in sixth position. Seventh is the Track Talk Chevron, eighth is the BPM Renault Megane V6, along with the Webbs in the BMW and the Simpson Motorsport Porsche. The Motorsport Ginetta is 11th, 12th is the Intersport BMW, although it hasn't made the grid due to technical difficulties, and row 7 is made up of 2 chevrons, the Jensen Motorsport car and the Chevron GT4 of Anthony Reid and Ray Grimes, which didn't set a qualifying lap. Plenty to talk about in the off-season, as Rachel found out.
There is so much talk about you, competition against Javier. First of all, how do you feel about that? How do you feel about coming to race? And there's already this buzz about you guys.
Yeah, well, it's a nice thought, but to be honest, we're taking this year as a learning year. We're running a lot of customer cars as well. You know, the whole team has upped its game, and we've got a lot to learn. So, yes, it's a nice thought that we'll chase him, but I don't think there'll be a lot of it going on. It's friendly rivalry if there is any.
I'm joined by Jeff Smith. How did you find qualifying?
Yeah, really good. Went out on some old rubber for a start,
yeah.
Got a decent timing, so we were fairly well up there at that point. Went out on new rubber, left the car as was, hoping to find probably a second and a half. Threw it off at Redgate out the pit, so not the best start to the weekend on new rubber. But so I got towed in, did a couple of 3 laps just to get the heat in the tyres. Got on it, and yeah, we've got a decent timing. Considering the amount of time we've actually been in the car for all 3 drives has been very limited.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're 3rd in class, so that's okay for a start.
I'm joined by Javier. Welcome back.
Thank you very much.
What have you taken away with you from last year's?
Many things. I mean, you should walk away from every race learning many things and with many things to change in mind. If you don't do that, you're not going to evolve, and motorsport is about getting better and better every day.
Yeah.
So many things. We've changed slight things on the car, which seems to work. We've worked a lot on the driver's side with me and with Manuel.
Yeah.
A lot of simulator work.
And is that essential? So after a season, say you have like 3-4 months off, is it essential to literally go back from scratch, really?
Absolutely, absolutely essential. You need to relearn. You need to think what you have to improve, your weak areas as a driver, and work a lot of them. And the winter is a great time to do so because you have time. You're not stressed by points or anything else.
And so your competition this year, is there anyone you've got your eyes on that you're thinking, I'm going to get you?
All of them, really. There's, I'd say there's 4 cars on the grid capable of winning. Any of them is going to be about doing a better job overall than the other. So anybody really can win this. So competition is ourselves, really, ourselves. We have to be the best we can be, and we are quite far away from that. So our competition is Manuel and I.
Well, the 2013 campaign for Neil Garner Motorsport has started without one of their top mechanics, Nick Rathbone. He was injured recently. The team's still sending him a very public, speedy recovery. So let's take a look at the Donington Park National Circuit, one of the most famous in British motorsport, and many a good motor race has been held on here, which bodes well for today's competition. Down to Redgate Corner, you take it very carefully, hug the apex as you exit through Hollywood. Up through the gears and then head for the treacherous Craner curves. In damp conditions, these can catch out the very best of racing drivers. And let's hear if he's blipped on the throttle on this lap. Yes, indeed, he can't quite take it full throttle. Doesn't help that there's a driver in the way as well. But through Old Hairpin, a very tricky corner. Even in dry conditions, this can catch out the best of men. And if you're not careful, you can be spat out into the kitty litter. Through Starkey's Bridge, a tough left-hander. You carry the acceleration well, it'll set you up nicely for McLean's, another tough right-hander. Hug the apex, and you get yourself a nice line. Acceleration is key here. You've got to stay away from those painted white lines, or it can throw the car around. Into Coppice Corner, another tough discipline for the driver because it goes on and on forever. Hug the apex on the right. Be careful not to use too much curb. Then you're blasting through the gears, down Dunlop Straight. The bridge is missing, but it still holds quite a challenge for the driver. Now the reprofiled chicane, known as the sausage curbs or the Fogarty S's, depending on who you speak to, blasting out of the final corner, and that's a lap of the Donington Park National Circuit. 1.957 miles of the circuit, and it's one of the toughest in British motorsport. And the weather forecast for this race is wet. And as you can see, the weather forecast has not let us down. It could be quite an intense competition. So we have the Rapier on the pole, the Mosler in second, Horsepower Racing's Aston is there in third, and the Chevron Car's GT3 is there in fourth position. There should be quite a few movers in the first couple of laps, but what you're about to witness is the toughest GT championship in British motorsport. 3 hours of racing each time we go. And the 2013 MSA British Endurance Championship is go! Great start from the Mosler as he kicks his way down towards turn one. The Chevron's made a good start as well in the hands of Marcus Clutton. In fact, he looks like he's going for second. He looks like he's going for the lead there into Redgate Corner. Fantastic start from the Chevron. And it looks like the sister car is up amongst the mixed as well. Brilliant start. So the Neil Garner Motorsport Mosler leads through the crane of curves. It's very, very easy to make a mistake here. The drivers will be wanting to play the percentage game here, get the rhythm early, although Clutton looks like he wants the lead early. He backs out of it at the last moment. Mike Millard there in the Rapier in third position, and some nice midfield battling. Anthony Reid is in the 97 Chevron, looking like he's going for the outside of Tommy Field already. Magnificent stuff in the early stages. Javier Morcillo in the Mosler, leading Marcus Clutton, who's following in his wheel tracks at the moment. These slippery conditions can catch out the best of drivers, and they just want to play it safe for the moment. Keep up the rhythm. Remember, it's a 3-hour race, not a 20-minute sprint, and that's why this is the ultimate GT challenge in Great Britain. So, Neil Garner Motorsport leads the way. Chevron Cars is there in second in the GT3. Third is the Rapier SR2. Fourth is Andy Schulz in the Horsepower Racing Aston Martin. That car was only bought 24 hours ago for £500,000. How it's on the grid at all is a minor miracle, and Paul Bailey will love to get his hands on that car later on. So they complete the first lap, and it's nice and clean considering the conditions out on the circuit. That just shows you we've got a field of very mature racing drivers out there who are not willing to go ugly early. They want to make sure they get through the first couple of laps in good form. Fifth position, there's the Intersport Mosler just creeping into the shot. Sixth position looks like the Renault Megane V6 Trophy, yes indeed, although the two Chevrons, the track talk of Tommy Field is tucking in behind. And keep an eye on Anthony Reid, the 97. There's plenty to come here from Donington Park. Don't go away.
Some of the biggest upheavals in American sports is in the world of motor racing, especially sports car racing. There's mergers, new series being proposed, audiences coming and going, drivers getting younger and younger. That's why you need the Racing Insiders on MAV TV to help you navigate the turmoil. The Racing Insiders is a new, weekly, 30-minute news show covering sports car racing, whether it's being done professionally, globally, or by the local grassroots club. Award-winning journalist Bill Wood will host the weekly discussions, along with race-winning insiders Peter Keene in Florida and Jim Daniels in Tennessee. It's a fast-paced, edgy sports show. They'll even reach out to guest insiders to bring you behind-the-scenes insider information you'll want to know. This new era in sports car racing needs the Racing Insiders.
The Racing Insiders on MAV TV, Thursdays at 2 and 5 p.m. Eastern, and again on Saturdays at noon.
Welcome back to a soaking wet Donington Park in Derbyshire for the first round of the MSA British Endurance Championship. It's early stages so far, and we've already got a position change here as Andy Schulz makes his way on the inside of Mike Millard in the Rapier SR2. The progress of that Aston Martin is staggering in the early stages, really putting on a good show. So at the moment, the Neil Garner Motorsport Mosler, driven by Javier Morcillo, that finished second in the championship last year, is leading. The all-new Chevron GT3, there it is, the yellow machine is running second, and Andy Schulz is putting that Horsepower Racing Aston Martin, the number 28 there, in third position at the moment, and hassling the Chevron in the early stages of the race. Fourth position, there it is, the Team Parker Porsche, the Intersport Mosler there in fifth, and sixth is the 97 Chevron, that's the GT4, running in Class 3. Hang on a minute, here comes Andy Schulz on the inside of Marcus Clutton. There's nothing that the Chevron driver can do about it. What a move. That was perfectly judged from Andy Schulz. Considering this car is just 24 hours old to this team, that is some amazing car control in these treacherous conditions. Great driving from Andy Schulz, and that puts them into second overall. So the Mosler putting in some good work. Hang on a minute, that's Anthony Reid making a move for an overtake. This isn't even a lap's difference between the two. He's actually going for it. That move maybe a little bit too premature, because up the inside comes Tom Webb in the BMW M3. Thank you very much, I'll take the place. And he's on the inside at Redgate, although the little Chevron still keeping its foot in there. I'm not letting you have this without a fight, mate. And he's almost side by side of the Craner curves. Memories of Donington 98 in the British Touring Car days. There was a lot of side-by-side from Anthony Reid in that great race. Nigel Mansell, of course, was a part of that encounter. And he's certainly not backing down from the fight here. Some brilliant wheel-to-wheel scraps in the early stages. They've got to be careful, though, otherwise they might throw it into the gravel trap early. There's Tommy Field making a nice move on the 46 Porsche of Peter Cook. That's the new Simpson Motorsport machine. So early progress from the pair of them. There's Javier Morcillo. Great to see these guys in the championship. There was a real possibility that they wouldn't be entering in 2013, but they've got their fire ready for the new season, and they want to clinch overall championship honours. They've been training hard in the off-season. Javier Morcillo's got himself a nice motor racing simulator, and now he's able to take on the likes of Andy Schulz with it. In fact, Manuel Cintrano has not only been brushing up on his English, but he's been brushing up on his racecraft and nipping over to Javier Morcillo's to have a play on the sim. Brilliant stuff between them. Well, some great midfield fighting. It looks like the Foldsport Ginetta has got itself up into the fight now and is battling with the Intersport Mosler. So Ryan Radcliffe driving out of his skin there. He's no slouch, and he knows that Ginetta G55 like the back of his hand. Just looking at the progress of that Aston Martin, Andy Schulz is really putting in some fast laps to close in on the Mosler. Here comes Tom Webb. Another neat passing move. Is it on the inside of Ryan Radcliffe? Oh, he's on the curb. He almost throws it away, but Radcliffe's car control is superior, and he's able to hang with it. In fact, he might have a decent line there to take him back again. So Andy Schulz picking his way through the traffic. Not too easy in these conditions. You've got to play it safe in the early stages. Remember, it's not a 20-minute race. It's a 3-hour endurance. 30 hours would be impressive. So Andy Schulz following in the wheel tracks of Ryan Radcliffe. Oh, Anthony Reid trying to get himself on terms there. That is Anthony Reid, because Andy Schulz has left Marcus Clutton behind. He really is throwing this Chevron GT4 well above its weight at the moment. Meanwhile, Javier Morcillo's lead is being decimated here by Andy Schulz, who is putting in a real champion's effort here, pushing hard, trying to get their first win. They were threatening all year last year to take an overall victory, and for one reason or another, whether it be mechanical or whether it be driver mistakes, it didn't quite happen. Up the inside of Tom Webb, that very nearly ended in the gravel for both of them there. The Intersport Mosler still putting on a brave fight, but Andy Schulz in the Aston Martin is already coming up to lap it. That is a new car to them. Now, here's the Renault Megane V6 Trophy. That is the 2007 Brit Car champion, that's Simon Leith, making a return to British Endurance Championship racing, and now going wheel to wheel with Anthony Reid and the Simpson Porsche of Peter Cook. So he's already having a great fight, and Anthony Reid drives around all of them at Redgate Corner. That is absolutely amazing. Round the outside in these wet conditions, and they're all of them currently in front of the Rapier SR2 on the road, but he's still there in the top 6 overall. So Andy Schulz carving his way through the traffic. There's Javier Morcillo. That car looking absolutely glued to the road. Might as well be a Scale Extric slot car. It's that in sync. Here comes Anthony Reid. Oh, he almost tags the side of Tom Webb as he makes the move. He just went, right, I'm coming through. Make up your mind. Which way are you going? Because I'm making the move no matter what you do. Brilliant stuff there from Anthony Reid. And Marcus Clutton. Oh, no, he's lost it. He's lost it. The back end kicks out as he heads for Coppice, and that's into the dirt. Oh dear, what a disaster for Marcus Clutton. The British GT convert has thrown it off the circuit. It's so slippy up at Coppice, and if anybody's going to lose it anywhere on this circuit, it's probably going to be there, but that's not going to make it any easier to take. Oh, Marcus Clutton will be devastated with that. So, we return to the action on the track, and there is Ryan Radcliffe making a sweet little move on the inside of the Intersport Mosler. So, the boys... Oh, goodness me. Bit of opposite lock needed there. The back end flicking out, and that's cost him a bit of momentum. They're going to be side by side on the way down to Redgate Corner. Brilliant stuff as they make their way through side by side. Who's going to blink first? It's the Mosler. Brian Radcliffe puts his foot there. Nope, I'm making this move happen. Get out of it. So some great battling in the early stages then of this race. Nobody's told them it's an endurance. They're going for it as if the championship depended on it early. So the Team Parker Porsche now trying to get it on with the Simon Leach Renault Megane. On the inside comes Ian Loggy, and that is a nice little overtaking move. So Simon Leach is coming back to the sport with a little bit of work to do. That car, a very quick one, practically a 3.5 Renault World Series car with a Renault Silhouette chassis. It's a very interesting machine. Up the inside comes Ian Lockie, a little bit of a late move, and I think that was never going to work because Peter Cook always had the edge on him at Redgate there. So that's the gap now. Oh, that's the Rapier! The Rapier's gone off! So Mike Millard has lost it under braking for the Fogarty S's, and that's going to be a bit of a mirror signal manoeuvre to get him back on the circuit. So Ian Loggy finally manages to get past Peter Cook in the Porsche, and well he might, because he wants to get away from Simon Leach as quickly as he possibly can. Well, the Chevron is in the pits and Rachel is down there. What can you tell us, Rach?
The Chevron cars are there, number 12, coming in for a pit stop. It's taken a little bit longer than expected because they brought out the wrong tyres. So they're just sorting it out right now, and then they are more than ready to go back out there and attack this race.
Well, David Witt did say before this race began that this is going to be treated like an extended test session for the GT3, but it certainly isn't the way they wanted to start the 2013 campaign. Simon Leach struggling to get past Peter Cook there in the Simpson Motorsport car, the new Porsche for this year. I have a feeling we'll be seeing more of them through the course of the season. Out onto the circuit goes Jordan Witt, taking over from Marcus Clutton, no doubt hiding his head in shame for that manoeuvre. He's got nothing to feel shameful about. Mistakes happen. Racing drivers at the end of the day are only human. So Javier Morcillo making his first pit stop. The Neil Garner Motorsport boys will be ready and well oiled for this one, and handing over to what they have stated as the much improved Manuel Cintrano. They have high hopes for this season. Manuel certainly has got a big confidence boost this year. He's been working on his English and his racecraft in the simulator, and he is more confident. Into the car he gets as Andy Schulz takes over the lead in the horsepower Aston Martin, although he'll need to make a pit stop of his own soon and hand over to Paul Bailey. No doubt he'll do so shortly, but what can Manuel Cintrano do to bring that gap back down again? Down towards the Fogarty S's, and Andy Schulz is coming up to this battle between Peter Cook and Simon Leach, and it's going to be quite interesting how he deals with it, because he's got to get through cleanly, but they're having a motor race of their own. Oh, it looks like Leach has actually moved aside and allowed the Aston Martin to go through, and Peter Cook is doing likewise. These men are gentlemen racers in several senses of the word. Out goes Manuel Cintrano then to leave the pits and head out onto the circuit again in second position. Well, there's the Rapier SR2 back on the road and looking quite tidy at the moment. Into the pit lane again comes the Chevron GT3. No, sorry, it is the GT4. So Anthony Reid is going to bring himself out of the car. Well, he's dragged out of the car, by all accounts, by Ray Grimes. And the driver is out of the car. Then they refuel. They're not allowed to refuel when the driver is in the car. They refuel. Then once the fuel cans are empty, then the driver gets in. Then they change the wheels and tyres. That's how it works in MSA British Endurance Championship Racing. Rapier SR2 currently following in the wheel tracks of Manuel Cintrano. And there's Anthony Reid giving Ray Grimes a bit of a pep talk as the fuel goes in on the Chevron GT3. Sorry, the Chevron GT4. I'm going to get confused with that all season long. Apologies now. Well, Leach has still got Peter Cook in his sights. He hasn't quite made the move to get through yet, as Ray Grimes, the old dog as he's known in the world of GT racing, he's affectionately loved by everybody. Now we've got this fabulous little tussle. I think they're actually for position at the moment. The Rapier SR2 right on the tail of Manuel Cintrano in the Mosler MT900R. As out onto the track goes the GT4. Class 3 victory could be on the cards here for these boys. This is a car that has a lot of development work behind it. Into the pit lane comes the Rapier SR2, much improved on last season. Had all sorts of issues last year, but it took pole position in the qualifying session, and despite the fact that it's not running quite to the front of the field as it was at the start of the race, it's still very much throwing its weight up there. So a very leisurely driver change by the looks of things. It's going to be Millard out of the car and Nigel Greensall in it, I do believe. So the team goes to work servicing the car. In comes the BPM Renault. So Simon Leach will get out and probably hand over to British touring car star Jeff Smith. Into the Rapier gets Nigel Greensall, I believe. As out on the track, we've got a nice dice here between the Webb BMW and the Track Talk Chevron. Tom Webb will no doubt be handing to James Webb soon, as Tommy Field will be handing over to Chris Hart. Activity in the pits as the Renault is there in the pit lane. At the end of the first hour, though, Bailey and Schulz are leading Class 1. Loggy and Jones in the Class 2 Porsche are 4th overall, and the Webbs in the Class 3 BMW are 5th overall. Don't go away.
Want to keep up with all the racing action at the track? Well, download the new GoRacingTV iPhone and Android app. And remember to like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.
Well, welcome back to Donington Park in Derbyshire. The pit stops are coming in thick and fast now for the opening round of the MSA British Endurance Championship. The Rapier boys have just been in. Oh, looks like the Chevron GT3 boys are back in as well. Probably a little earlier than they planned as well. Some more mechanical problems. No doubt Rachel will find out what's going on a little bit later. Mike Millard has just brought the Rapier into the pits to hand over to Nigel Greensall. And as I say that, it looks like Rachel's found Mike Millard.
I'm joined with Michael Millard. What are the conditions like out there for you?
Well, at the very beginning, I just couldn't see anything. I've got a single visor and the roosters off the cars in front just totally blocked the vision. And as the circuit's starting to dry up, you suddenly got vision, which is great, but the circuit's become very greasy, and you're having to brake maybe 2 car lengths early. In fact, I lost it once into the chicane, outbraked myself, but we've also got a problem with the throttle sticking against the side of the tub. It's moved across, and you can only get half throttle at certain times, and then you have to bash it to get it to go full throttle.
So Mike Millard telling it like it is, as you see the Horsepower Racing Aston Martin in the pit lane. Andy Schulz will be out, Paul Bailey will be in, as their quest for victory continues on. Mike Millard, as you said there, as the track dries out, it gets incredibly greasy, and you'll start to make more and more mistakes out on the circuit, as he did at the Fogger TSs earlier on. There's nothing you can do about it when the car gets that slippy. In comes the Intersport Mosler, as Kevin Clark hands over to Wayne Gibson, and the Chevron boys still struggling with the GT3. Here's Rachel.
David, what is happening with Chevron at the moment? I understand there was a
Yeah, it's we're waiting for a brand new loom to come for the car. It hasn't arrived, supposedly here next week. We've got a problem with the fly-by-wire. We had the problem this morning. We thought we'd cured it, and it's obviously come back again. But if that's the only problem we end up at the end of the day, we're very pleased. The car's only been with the new engine and gearbox. It's only been together 3 weeks, so we've only done 2 lots of testing. And we do the lap times we've been doing. It's absolutely phenomenal. So if that's the only problem we have, by the end of the day, I'm delighted. New wiring loop from Cosworth, from the Cosworth guys next week, and we're away again.
Well, David Witt talks a fine game. That's the Intersport Mosler. Off into the gravel trap at Redgate there. Disaster. So Wayne Gibson, I think that is, has gone straight on a turn 1. Disaster for the Intersport Mosler team. And the Rapier SR2 is back in again. It's only just made a pit stop, and it's parking up in the garage. Oh dear, more mechanical gremlins. It's all kicking off here. Well, Rachel has found Andy Schulz.
I'm joined by Andy Schulz. How are you finding it out there so far?
Very slippery.
Yes.
Yeah.
The weather's having such an effect.
It is, yeah. It's good that it's wet in a way because it's not in between, but it's starting to dry out quite a lot in places, but it's really greasy. Very, very slippery. I seem to be having a lot of sort of mid to exit oversteer, more so than the cars I've been looking at. So I don't know whether it's a bit of setup. Obviously, we don't know the car, so we've only just sort of got it. So
well, tell us about the car. Tell us. You said you've only just got it.
Yeah. Well, what happened? We got the GT2, the Ferrari. Got it all prepped over the winter. Really looking forward to racing it. Really looking forward to it. And unfortunately, the engine let go on Thursday testing. So we couldn't get another engine from anywhere. There's nothing in Italy. There's nothing anywhere. So Paul decided to do a deal on a GT3 Aston, and it turned up last night at about 11 o'clock, and then we went out this morning in it, so it's all new.
How does that make you feel getting to that kind of situation with a new car?
It's a bit nerve-wracking because it's a lot of money and it's not my car, and the first run in it you sort of think, what's this going to do? How's it going to behave? But it's actually a lovely car to drive, really good to drive. Bags of power. It's just, obviously, we've got to play with the setup to get exactly how we both like it, really.
Yeah.
But
it's trial and error, I suppose.
for this, it's a big sort of step in the dark, but it's good fun.
It's a healthy step in the dark.
Yeah, makes life interesting, doesn't it?
Healthy step in the dark. I think I remember that one for a while. Wayne Gibson makes his way back onto the circuit as we have a trio of chevrons battling for on-track glory. Jensen Motorsport at the head, with Jensen Lund still behind the wheel. I do believe Chris Hart has now got himself into the Track Talk chevron, and Ray Grimes is there in the Chevron Cars Works GT4 at the back of that little queue. Great presence then from the only car mark in this championship that is actually taking its works machine into the championship to fight for overall honour. Well, the Intersport Mosler has come in. Wayne Gibson brings it back into the pits and back into the garage, so perhaps it wasn't his mistake. Perhaps something went wrong with the car, perhaps brake failure or a mechanical gremlin that made the throttle stick open. We don't know. Maybe Rachel can find out for us a little bit later on. So still a bit of a wheel-to-wheel battle here as Ray Grimes makes his move for Chris Hart. They go down the Dunlop straight down towards the Fogarty S's. He backs out of it. I think he's obviously decided he wants to bring the car home, play it safe. They're making good progress at the moment. Maybe perhaps he just wants to play tick over until he can hand over to his stablemate Anthony Reid later on. Well, back in the pit lane, and the Simpson Motorsport Porsche getting a bit of a drink. Peter Cook has probably handed over to Anthony Mott by now. In fact, that's exactly what's going on. And into the pit lane comes the Track Talk Chevron. So if Tommy Field hasn't handed over to Chris Hart, he probably is now. Here's Rachel with more news.
I'm joined now by Wayne, the gravel master. I've just been given that title. What's happened to the car?
The throttle body keeps sticking for some unknown reason. I didn't think the lads was going to believe me, but we've just come in and took the back off the car and pressed the accelerator. It's sticking 2 or 3 times in a row, so I'm afraid we're out.
You're out for the entire race?
Yeah, we're out for the entire race. It's too dangerous to run that.
Has the weather been a factor for you?
Yeah. It's a new car to us. I've never drove it in the wet before, so it's a bit of an experience anyway. So, yeah, definitely going to retire, I think, for this race.
Well, Wayne Gibson bowing out high, wide and handsome. I didn't think that was his error. He doesn't usually make mistakes of that kind. So mechanical failure putting the Intersport Mosler out of the race. So out of the car comes Ian Loggy. That's the Team Parker Porsche chatting away to Chris Jones. That's Manuel Cintrano skidding over the gravel there at the Fogarty S's. But he manages to get away with that one. So just a slight blip there from the Mosler. Not easy even in these greasy conditions to keep the car on the road. In fact, especially in these greasy conditions, perhaps it would be easier for the drivers if it was a full wet circuit. There's the 97, Ray Grimes in the GT4 Chevron, still battling for Class 3 honours. And they're making steady progress in the top 3 in class at the moment. Out onto the circuit goes Chris Jones in the Team Parker Racing Porsche. The only car to mix it with the Class 1s in qualifying, and this is actually a very steady Porsche you're looking at here. Well, Paul Bailey getting in amongst the back markers, and it looks like Rachel Downey has more news for us in the pits.
I'm joined by Ian Loggy, and I think you're the first person to say you actually like the weather conditions out there.
Yeah, we sort of hoped it would be wet today. We did a lot of testing, and we were in Portugal a month ago, and normally you would go there at this time of year. It would be nice and dry and things would be great, but it was really wet the whole 5 days we were out there, so we managed to do quite a bit of testing, and I do like it when it's wet. So.
And when it is wet, what makes it so great for you as a driver? Surely it means it's more slippery, surely it means you're in less control, or is it not like that?
Yeah, no, you have less control. However, these 911 Cup cars are really, I feel it's a really good car to drive in the wet. Anything else to drive in the wet, I'm not so keen, but with that I really do like it. And I think it's just a matter of when you get your confidence that you like the wet, then it works for you.
And you've only been driving for 18 months?
Yeah, I did my first race about 20 months ago.
Amazing.
So I did a lot of racing since in the 20 months. I did a lot of testing. So yeah, but hopefully now we've got the pro driver in, we can get closer to the front. I think we come in third there, so I'm pleased with that.
Ian Loggy's progression as a racing driver in British motorsport is quite staggering. Oh, and how about that for a staggering spin as Paul Bailey loses the back end just out of Coppice Corner, and that has ruined his rhythm. Hopefully he should be able to get that car back on the straight and narrow without too much time lost. but that was a bit of a mistake, and again it looks like it might be raining on the circuit. Well, Paul Bailey on the racing line. Now he's got the car going again. I think he just needed to have a quick spit and polish to get his bearings, and now he's back on the road again. So Manuel Cintrano thrown a bit of a lifeline here, perhaps with a chance to close in on the Aston Martin once more. And there's the board. Garner in. So the Neil Garner Motorsport Mosler is coming in, and Manuel Cintrano will get out, and Javier Morcillo will come in. It looks like he's had a bit of debris knock on the windscreen there because the sticker and number are askew. But the pit stop goes on, and out onto the track again goes the Chevron GT3. So that fly-by-wire looks like it's back in position, and hopefully that car should make it to the finish. Out onto the circuit then once again goes Javier Morcillo. Manuel's done quite a good job. Oh, there goes the track talk Chevron off into the gravel. So Chris Hart, I do believe, has gone a little bit too heavy into the corner there, and that's binned it. Well, the marshals shove it back on the racetrack. It's a brilliant strength there from the marshals. Where would we be without them? They are the heroes of our racing, and they really do not get the credit they deserve. Well, another one of the Chevrons in good form. The GT4 ploughing on. And there's the other Chevron going off. Goodness me, it's raining Chevrons. Jensen Lunn. The Jensen Motorsport car. I don't know if it's Jensen Lunn or if Alistair Lindsay has got into the car now. I know they were only going to do an hour and a half each, and they were going to have just one pit stop at the halfway point, by the sounds of things. So it could well be Lindsay who's gone off, or maybe it is Jensen Lunn, can't tell from here. And the marshals have actually got to work hard to push that Chevron out of position. They've dropped it at the old hairpin, and there is the chasing pack. I have a feeling there could be a safety car here if they can't get that car moved. Fortunately, the Webb BMW and the Fold Sport Ginetta have spotted it. They've slowed right down, and I don't think that's going to cause too much of a headache. They've just got to be careful. It's such a precarious position. That's the Renault Megane in, and that's certainly not a scheduled pit stop. A little bit of jiggery-pokery from the mechanics. I think they're adjusting something on the suspension there. So the BPM Renault getting a little bit of a tweak at the rear end, and hopefully that should make it a bit more stable through the corners. Paul Bailey charging on. No spin through Coppice Corner this time. I think he's learned his lesson, and he's ploughing on in good stead. Javier Morcillo, though, is out on the track, and he will be determined to catch them up again. It's going to come down to the last couple of pit stops, I think. So Morcillo charges on, chasing after the Aston Martin. It's a game of cat and mouse. And out onto the circuit again goes the Renault Megane, does it? Yes, indeed. So Bailey and Schulz still lead Class 1, Logie and Jones lead Class 2 behind the Mosler, and Ratcliffe and Haig are leading Class 3. Not long to go now.
Some of the biggest upheavals in American sports is in the world of motor racing, especially sports car racing. There's mergers, new series being proposed, audiences coming and going, drivers getting younger and younger. That's why you need the Racing Insiders on MAV TV to help you navigate the turmoil. The Racing Insiders is a new, weekly, 30-minute news show covering sports car racing, whether it's being done professionally, globally, or by the local grassroots club. Award-winning journalist Bill Wood will host the weekly discussions, along with race-winning insiders Peter Keene in Florida and Jim Daniels in Tennessee. It's a fast-paced, edgy sports show. They'll even reach out to guest insiders to bring you behind-the-scenes insider information you'll want to know. This new era in sports car racing needs the Racing Insiders.
The Racing Insiders on MAV TV, Thursdays at 2 and 5 p.m. Eastern, and again on Saturdays at noon.
So here we go then, the last hour here at Donington Park, and this is where the race can be won or lost. Javier Morcillo is back in the Mosler. It isn't going to be long before Paul Bailey hands over to Andy Schulz, and the race will be on. Here's Rachel.
I'm joined by Ashley. How was it out there?
Awful.
What happened that made it so awful?
That's the first time I've been out in the car in a proper race. In a proper race.
Aston comes in, the leader is in.
We've been out a few times testing, but we've never really had the car out in this kind of...
Paul Bailey here.
I'm not used to GT. It was just unbelievable.
So Ashley Woodman talking about how difficult it was in the BPM Renault. First time he's ever been out in the car, and what a race to be out in on your first race of the season. Very tricky conditions here. When it isn't raining, the track is drying and is greasy. When it is raining, it's one of the most slippery surfaces you could possibly wish to find in British motor racing. Leading Class 2, there is the Parker Porsche, Ian Loggy and Chris Jones racing on. Very hard indeed, that car, and could well take some overall victories later in the year. We saw last year how the Bull Run Lotus won the championship and even took the overall win at Alton Park last year just because of the rate of attrition. I wouldn't bet against that Porsche. That one, in fact, the 24 Parker Porsche taking some overall victories later in the season. Well, there's no driver in the car, so that means that Chris Jones must be out and Ian Loggy must be getting back in. Now we have the fight really on, because Javier Morcillo is closing in on Paul Bailey in the Aston Martin. Can't be long now before the Aston pits in to hand over to Andy Schulz, and unless, of course, it's happened already, we might well have not spotted it. Here is the Porsche. Ian Loggy making his way out onto the circuit to do the final stretch of the race. So here at Donington Park, it really is getting tricky. Flick Haig has had a great stint in the Ginetta G55. Looks like she's handing back over to Ryan Radcliffe for the last hour. And that car could well take the Class 3 victory here, although the Chevron GT4 will be its main rival for that one. There's the GT3 being lapped by the Rapier SR2. I have a feeling that's Carsten LeBlanc now at the wheel of that car. Marcus Clutton back behind the wheel of the Chevron GT3. Oh, somebody's going off. Is that the Mosler? It is! Javier Morcillo goes off up at Coppice Corner, runs through the gravel trap. Somehow he manages to keep his foot on the throttle and returns to the circuit. What car control. Brilliant stuff there from Javier Morcillo. Oh, the Aston Martin looking a little bit wobbly up at McLean's, but he holds on to it. So the Aston Martin still charging on. I have a feeling now they have made that driver switch. So Andy Schulz is on the attack, chasing after the Mosler, because clearly he's behind him on the circuit, as you can see. Several cars still to lap as he makes his way through. There's a real battle going on for Class 3 honours as well, because we have the Ginetta G55 of Ryan Radcliffe being chased down by the GT4 Chevron, I do believe. Into the pits comes the Aston. Is this for a driver change, or is this for something completely different? Down to the pit garage they go, and the Aston isn't stopping at its box. It's just driving straight on. I have a feeling they've been given a drive-through penalty here. Well, that really has ruined their chances of victory. That's going to cost them so much time, and that's something that we're really running out of now. So a drive-through penalty for the Horsepower Racing Aston Martin. What a disaster. They've always said they're going to win a race overall, and this time they had a real chance to do it. Somehow it's just, again, just all fallen apart at the seams, but they're going to fight back. Don't count them out yet. That is Ryan Radcliffe making the move on the Renault Megane. Not sure who the driver of that is now. It could well be Jeff Smith, Eurotech driver in the British Touring Car Championship, as he gets passed on the road by Ray Grimes in the Chevron. Jeff Smith in the Renault Megane V6 this weekend, in fact for the entirety of the season. His teammate in the British Touring Car Championship, Andrew Jordan, was going to be running in that Intersport Mosler earlier on. He pulled out at the last minute. Looking at how it fared in the race with mechanical problems, I think he was spared quite a disappointing afternoon. So, the battle is on and raging. I have a feeling the Chevron GT4 is not Ray Grimes behind the wheel. If I look in the windscreen, is it Anthony Reid? Yes, it is. So they've made that driver change, and Anthony Reid is now right on the tail. In fact, he's up on the inside. They're going to go side by side down to the Craner curves. This is fantastic. Anthony Reid is keeping his foot in, planted side by side down to the Craner curves, and he's got him. What a move. No fear whatsoever, and up on the inside. Cheers, mate. I'm off. Magnificent driving there from Anthony Reid. Ryan Radcliffe was absolutely gracious in defeat there. Could very easily have slammed it all firmly shut in his face and caused a monumental accident if he got it wrong. But that was some sportsman driving from both of them. Anthony Reid, though, in the 97 snatches the Class 3 lead. He's lost nothing, has he? Some magnificent driving out there in the last hour, and that's quite a big deficit they've pulled back as well. So, Andy Schulz, try as he might, still pushing on in the Aston Martin and still making good progress as the light is starting to disappear. into the pit lane again by the look of it. We've only got a handful of laps left, and it looks like the Aston's having to pit again. Maybe they've called the strategy wrong with their fuel limits. That car has been pushing very hard, and they're not used to it, of course. So it looks like, yes, a quick splash and dash for the Aston Martin, and it'll be back out on its way, and that's just sealing the victory for Javier Morcillo, Manuel Cintrano, and the entire Neil Garner Motorsport team. There were rumours they weren't going to be racing at all in the MSA British Endurance Championship in 2013. They'd had enough from the end of 2012. They were exhausted and drained, and they'd come so close. But now they've got a genuine chance to win the championship here. The Aston Martin's still in the pit lane, and that really has cost them victory. There goes the Mosler, Javier Morcillo. All he's got to do now is bring the car home. He hasn't got to put too much energy into that car. For once, there's no problems really for the Mosler. A slight error or two early on, and nothing they couldn't handle. Out onto the track comes Andy Schulz. They will get that overall victory, don't you worry. They're going to put in a monumental effort, but we love seeing these guys go racing. The Neil Garner Motorsport team have brought verve, character and charisma to the British Endurance Championship over the last few seasons. Out onto the circuit comes the Aston Martin to rejoin in second place in class and overall. They've driven valiantly considering that car was only delivered to them on a Friday night, but these guys are the real heroes from the race. Second on the grid, they just bided their time, took it easy, and Manuel Cintrano, I have no doubt Neil Garner Motorsport will crown him as their star of the weekend. His pace has improved so much over the course of the winter. He's been down to Javier's house, training on the simulator. He's been working on his English. They're just having to dodge a hair on the way home there, running across the racetrack at Dunlop Straight into the Fogarty S's. And what a way to kickstart the 2013 campaign. You have to call them the favourites for the championship now. Javier Morcillo takes the flag, and Neil Garner Motorsport take the first win of the MSA British Endurance Championship in 2013. Lights flashing, oh yes! Brilliant victory overall and in Class 1. That is exactly what they needed. And there are the Class 2 winners. Ian Loggy and Chris Jones bringing the Team Parker Porsche home in third position overall, I do believe. Certainly first in class, and there is the horsepower racing Aston Martin. Winners in Class 3, it's the Chevron GT4 of Anthony Reid and Ray Grimes after a cracking drive, but that's your overall winner. So Morcillo and Cintrano take the class win and the win overall from Bailey and Schulz in the Aston Martin, Loggy and Jones in the Porsche, and Grimes and Reid in the Chevron take their respective class victories. Down to Rachel in the pits.
Congratulations. I'm going to let you take your helmet off, but congratulations. That was amazing. For an outsider, someone watching the race, it seemed like you had great pace throughout. You actually made it look quite easy, but you just said then that it was a difficult race.
It was really difficult. It wasn't easy at all.
Yeah.
It was.
Why? What makes it difficult?
The conditions were changing every lap.
The weather
every
again.
lap, the weather makes the circuit greasier or less greasier every time.
Yeah.
So to find the absolute edge is really difficult because the circuit is different every lap. The tires are different every lap, and the fuel load is different every lap. So normally we can take it a bit easier, but this race has been qualifying pace from start to finish. 3 hours of qualifying pace. So it's been really, really difficult. Manuel did an amazing job. We totally, this win is from Manuel. It's from his work. He's done his best ever driven, and really good because that's my work to make him fast.
Yeah. Anthony, class winner. Congratulations. You just said then you really enjoyed it, did you?
Yeah, I mean,
the weather, everything.
You know, we've had a difficult winter. You know what the weather's been like. We've done very little testing. But this is a super little car, the GR8, and it was just great fun to drive this afternoon, even though the conditions were not easy.
And you said there, you know, even though you couldn't test that much, did you come into this not that confident because you hadn't been testing?
Yeah, we're not sure about reliability. We've never really driven, you know, for me, this is the first year I've spent in the GT4, so I didn't really know what to expect when it started to rain. But, I mean, I was so pleasantly surprised. The car was fantastic. It was absolutely flying.
I'm joined by Chris Jones, class winner. Congratulations.
Thank you.
How are you feeling?
Great, to be honest. Ian did all the hard work today. He did an absolutely fantastic job. He's an amateur driver and he went out there and he took the lead, and I just drove it home really.
What did you find most difficult?
It was challenging conditions. Our car uses tyres quite a lot, so it was just a case of tyre management and seeing what the pace of the other cars was around us, and we were sort of racing for overall position as well, so keeping an eye and looking after tyres, but wanting to push that a little bit to try and get in.
And when did you know you've done it? You were class winners.
Jules, my engineer, came over the radio just as over the line because.
Oh wow! So it was literally that moment, that last minute.
He keeps information to a limited amount.
That's good. So
I'm
you don't get carried away.
No, I'm not allowed to know stuff because I think about things. So.
Well, class points dictate the championship positions, so Chevron Cars and Team Parker Racing are tying at the top of the table, just in front of Neil Garner Motorsport. 3 classes in the top 3 positions. All I can say is, bring on Silverstone.
What a fantastic first race here at Donington for the Britcar MSA British Endurance Championship. The weather certainly has been testing, and we cannot wait for the next race at Silverstone. See you then.